Uh, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to all of you in today's class. I'm not sure how many of you joined because I can see that anyway. So today, should I start? Should we wait for a few minutes or should we start? No, I can see the screen how many of you joined. So that's why I'm a bit confused. Okay, we'll wait for a few minutes to see how many of you joined. Anyway, so if anyone missed the previous introduction of mine, I'm going to uh, introduce myself again. That I'm Dr. Isaba Sifat. I'm completed my MBBS from Dinashpur Medical College. Now it is known as Imam Abdul Rahim Medical College. And then uh, I I have been teaching in Dhaka National Medical College for about 5 years. It's now almost, not almost, it's been 5 years here. I've been in anatomy department, and so that's it. There is nothing more about. And I know anatomy is very difficult. It was very difficult me even when I was a student. But now I think when I started taking the classes, I feel that it's not that hard if you kind of follow some rules. It's like a bit of map. If we can, sorry. Uh, if we can understand with the pictures and everything else, it's easier. So I don't know how much I can help you with that, but I will try my best. The way learn it easier way, so I can make it easier for you. So that's it. Actually taking class online is a bit difficult, as we don't know. We can see the response of the students, so we can hear what the students are saying, so it's a bit different, but still I'll try my best anyway. So uh, should I wait? So we are going to start with abdomen. Actually, those who are new first year students, so it will be difficult for them because uh, they actually haven't had the experience of learning in class. So it's always difficult learning a subject like anatomy in through online. But those who are preparing for prof, it's just a revision for them. They already know everything. They are just if they are here, they just can go through what they have learned so far. So it's easier, much easier for them, but it will be a bit hard to understand for the newer first year students, actually, who doesn't have even, I think most of the medical college has shut down, I think uh, on thorax. I think they have completed thorax, but they didn't get to the super extremity or any other part. Maybe most of the medical colleges have taken online classes, as far I know. I'm not sure about that, but we are going to start with with the abdomen, which is the most vastest of all the cards. So but it's not that hard. It has consist of several systems. Like, we are going to start with the alimentary system, uh, and today we are going to go through the topics of stomach. So Shibli, should I start or I shall wait a bit?
Ma'am, you start.
Okay. So again, sorry. So this is the stomach. Um, I don't know why. Yes. So see, these are the things we are going to learn about stomach. Basically, the function. Basically, whatever viscera or thing we are learning, first we need to know what's the function of that particular organ or viscera. Then we'll go through the general features. Then blood supply, lymphatic drainage, histological structure, development, and some clinical anatomy. So see, what is the function of stomach? You will learn more about in, I think, physiology or biochemistry, but still we need to know the thing we are learning, that is stomach, what's the function. So basically it acts as a reservoir of food. Then it converts the food into chyme. It helps in digestion of some proteins. It secretes mucus, which act as a protective barrier. Then it, have some acid medium or gastric as a gastric content, which actually helps to protect against bacterial invasion. And then it even allowed some absorption of water, glucose, vitamins, etc. And importantly, it secretes hormone like gastrin, which helps in gastric motility. So these are the few functions I have put together, but any viscera, you need to know what are the function, but you will learn in details in physiology. And see, in previous class, I told you about the abdominal region. In thorax, we didn't need any region, but as abdomen is a very vast area, so that's why we divided into these 9 regions, because we have to point out the viscera where they are in the abdomen. So this picture actually is very clear. I think this is a very clear picture of how we divide the different region. And I told in the last class, where can you find this picture in Dotto book? So you can go check that from Dotto. As per I know that most of the medical college mainly follow Dotto, and you can follow any other book of your teacher preferences. So sorry, but for abdomen, it actually presents in the anteroabdominal area chapter, where you will find this region. So see, there are 3 into 3, there are total 9 regions. From above, see, there is right hypochondriac and left hypochondriac, and in middle there is the epigastric region. Then the second row, it's right and left lumbar, and middle is the umbilical region. And then below there is hypogastric region in the middle, and right and left iliac region on both sides. So this is the total abdominal area and how we divide it. And you can see there are some viscera they are showing us. See, the liver, I don't know my mouse will work or not, but see, there is liver, this is the intestine and everything else. So that's how we know that which viscera lies where. So this is very important before going to abdomen, that you know the 9 regions and where they are situated, so that you can easily find out the respective viscera you are learning. So now here comes the stomach. See, on the right side, I gave a picture of stomach. All the pictures I'm showing here all are collected from basically Google, so you can easily find the pictures. But I think the preferred picture you will choose from the books your teacher or suggested. So anyway, see, this is the stomach. So stomach is the most dilated part of our alimentary tract, and it's situated between the esophagus and duodenum. That means when we are eating any food, it goes from the mouth to the pharynx to esophagus, and then it comes to the stomach, and after that it will go to the duodenum. So that's why it is situated between the esophagus and duodenum. And see, situation, that means in which abdominal region it is situated. So see, it occupies the epigastric, that means the upper middle area, then the left hypochondria, just left of the epigastric region, and umbilical region, it is the below the epigastric, the middle area is the umbilical region. So this is the region where the stomach is situated. And you can see that the stomach usually look like a J shape in any living body. And the capacity, that means how much food or water or things stomach can hold, it's about 1 liter to 1.5 liter in case of any adult, and in case of newborn it is 30 to 50 ml. So these are some facts. You can go through any book for check it. I just remember it is an online class, so I just pick point some important facts, but you need to learn to read a lot more than that. Anyway, so these are some general features. And see, this is the important thing, the presenting parts. So those who have seen already the stomach, that means the second year students, they have idea, but for the first year it is a very bit difficult, because they haven't seen the viscera or anything else. apart from the pictures. So now you have to visualize everything through these pictures. So these pictures almost, I think the labelings are clear, I think, almost clear. So we can see the stomach actually has two orifices, or we can call it openings. One is the cardiac orifice and one is the pyloric orifice, or we can say cardiac opening and pyloric opening, sorry. So the cardiac opening, cardiac we know heart. So obviously the upper opening, that is the cardiac opening. See, I don't know, my mouse can show it not. This is the cardiac orifice. And see, this one is the pyloric opening. And it has two surfaces. The one anterior superior surface, the front one is called anterior superior surface. And the posteriorly it is called the posterior inferior surfaces. Then two curvatures. See the arrow, you can see one is called the lesser curvature and one is the outer side is the greater curvature. And see, I have written down that the lesser curvature is concave and the greater one is convex. So basically in stomach, there are two orifices or two openings, cardiac opening and pyloric opening. Then there are two surfaces, anterior superior surface and posterior inferior surface. And two curvatures, there is lesser curvature and there is greater curvature. The lesser curvature is the short one, which actually lies on the right side, and the greater is on the left side, the larger one. And one is the concave and one is, convex. And now comes to more clearer picture of the opening. See the cardiac, you can see the leveling. You will see the blue color, that is the cardiac. That means this is the cardiac orifice or cardiac opening, and the lower one, that is the pyloric opening. So I have written the situation of these two opening, and these two are the anatomical points basically, and very important. When you are picking the viscera of stomach, you have to start saying by these anatomical points. That means the situation of the cardiac and pyloric orifice. So the cardiac orifice, it lies, see, 2.5 centimeter to the left of the median plane, behind the 7 costal cartilage or opposite thoracic 11 vertebra. Or for pyloric orifice, it lies 1.25 centimeter to the left, to the right of the median plane, at the lower border of the lumbar 3. So these two are important anatomical position. When we are going to hold the viscera of stomach, we are going to say first these two situation of these two orifices or openings. So very, very important. And there should be a question, ma'am, there are two openings. And when you see the viscera, almost both look same. So how can we differentiate the cardiac orifice and the pyloric orifice? I haven't written all down in this presentation. These are the extra things I'm going to say. So the pyloric orifice, see, I have written something within the bracket that is more thicker. That means pyloric orifice, this opening is much more thicker than the cardiac orifice. And that's how we are going to know this is the pyloric opening. And that's how we are going to, hold it in the anatomical position by putting the pyloric orifice on, the lower portion and about 1.25 centimeter right of the median plane. So this is very important, for finding out which opening is, how it looks actually. One is thicker, that is the pyloric orifice, and that's how we are going to know it. This is the pyloric orifice, and obviously the other one will be the cardiac orifice. And now come the question, why pyloric orifice is thicker? Because there is a pyloric sphincter, and it is formed by the circular muscle and deep fibers of the longitudinal muscle. So this is a very important question for Viva actually, when you are going to tell them that pyloric orifice is thicker. So they are going to ask, the next question can be like that way. Your teacher can ask you that why it is thicker, because the pyloric sphincter is here. And how it is formed? It is formed by the circular muscle and deep fibers of the longitudinal muscle. And about this muscle, we are going to learn on the histological structure. So I'm not going to emphasize on that portion now. But the main important thing is there are two openings, cardiac and pyloric. And the pyloric orifice is more thicker because of the presence of pyloric sphincter. And here how this is formed. And this sphincter actually act as a kind of a doorway or a door. So it basically prevents, any kind of reflux or going out from stomach to duodenum or duodenum to stomach. So the question is there nothing present on the cardiac, part? Yes, there is. So there is another question they can ask you, that in stomach, that which one is the anatomical sphincter here. So pyloric sphincter is the anatomical sphincter because we can see it, and there is a sphincter present. But in cardiac opening, there is no sphincter, but there are physiological sphincter, and they are called the flap valve and flutter valve. I think if you have go through the Dotto book, or if you're going to the Dotto book, you will see in stomach, the first starting with these two valves. Basically, they act as the physiological sphincter. Anyway, so I'm going to my next slide. That is how we are going to subdivide the stomach or divided the stomach. This is very important for Viva. You have to uh, tell exactly in what way you are going to divide the stomach. There is a picture, though this picture is not absolutely correct one. I just gave it because here the levelings are very good. This picture is not a very good one. I'm telling you again, you should check another picture from Dotto or any other book you can find. Anyway, so firstly, stomach is divided into three parts. You can see above there is written the fundus. Then in the middle there is body, and see there is the whole pyloric part. Sorry, the pyloric part, again we are subdivided into three structure. One is pyloric antrum, then there is pyloric canal and pylorus. So these are the parts of stomach. That's how we divide the stomach. But the important thing question will be how you divide the stomach, and you have to show it holding the viscera, that this way we are going to divide it. So it's written in Dotto and also in Cunningham. I think the better version is written in Cunningham. I don't know who can tell me that my mouse, you can see my mouse or the pointer?
Yes, ma'am. It's in.
Okay, so then I can show you. Thank you, Nusrat. Anyway, so how now we're going to learn how we divide the stomach into parts. So see this portion here this is called the cardiac notch. Okay, from cardiac notch we are going to imagine a horizontal line like this way. Then the above portion, this is called the fundus, and the below portion is the body. So that's how we are
Yes, ma'am.
divided.
দেখা যাচ্ছে.
Okay, thank you. So that's how we are going to divide the stomach into fundus and body. That means this area here, there is a cardiac notch. From here, an imaginary horizontal line will, draw. And then the above portion is called the fundus and the below portion is the body. Now comes how we divide the body from this pyloric part. Okay, so this is the laser curvature, as you can see. Here, the most dependent part is called incisura angularis. These are all written in the Dotto. I haven't write it on this presentation, but these all are written there. You just listen and just check out the book, then it will be easier. So the most dependent part of the laser curvature is called the incisura angularis. It's kind of like here. From here, we are going to draw kind of an oblique, or in some case a vertical line to the opposite side of the left edge of the greater curvature. So kind of like this way. Okay, then it's divided into the body, and this whole portion is the pyloric part. I've told you before that this picture is not a good one. Here they have shown it a bit later way, but kind of up to this is the body, and here is our pyloric part. And from this incisura angularis will draw another vertical line like this. Then the pyloric part will be divided into pyloric antrum, the pyloric canal, this narrow one, and then the opening is called the pylorus. So that's how it is divided into this part. It's a very important question for Viva. Not for written, basically it's for important for Viva. any kind of viva, when you are going to, hold the stomach, and the teacher is going to ask you, please divide the stomach into parts. So that's how you have to divide. We can just tell, fundus, body, and pyloric. Then they will tell you, show me how you divide. So I'm going to repeat it again so that you can understand, at least for the first year students. So this area here, there is called a part called cardiac notch. From here, we'll draw an horizontal line to the opposite side. Then the above part is fundus and the below part is body. And this is the laser curvature. The most dependent part, kind of like here, is called the incisura angularis. From here and almost a vertical, kind of oblique. I'm sorry, my mouse is kind of disturbing. Anyway, so from here, kind of oblique line will draw just opposite side of the left edge of the greater curvature, and then is the body, and this area, whole area, is the pylorus. And another vertical line will draw from the incisura angularis to the opposite side. Then this is the pyloric antrum, pyloric canal, and pylorus or pyloric opening. So this picture, I'm telling you again, this picture not a good one. I just gave this picture so that the leveling you can see clearly. So okay, now I'm going to move to my next slide. That is the curvatures. See, this picture is much better. Here you can see the fundus, body, or pylorus. Pylorus is basically a very smaller area. Okay. So the curvatures. So I told you that the laser curvature is the concave one, the smaller one, and the opposite one is the greater curvature. So laser curvature, see, it forms the right border and it gives attachment to the laser omentum. Omentum basically is a fold of the peritoneum. And the question for first year should be, what is peritoneum? So I'm going to tell you that, like heart is, the covering of heart is pericardium, right? The covering of lung is pleura, same as the covering of total abdomen covered with this peritoneum, and which has many folds. Here it is attached to the laser omentum of that peritoneum part. Anyway, so this is the laser curvature that forms basically the right border and gives attachment to the laser omentum. The opposite one, see the greater curvature from the left border, which is almost 4 to 5 times longer than the laser curvature, and it gives attachment to the, see, it has on the upper side, it will attach to the gastrophrenic ligament, and we already know phrenic means a diaphragm. So around the cardiac end, it is attached to the gastrophrenic ligament. Then on this side, it is attached to the gastrosplenic ligament, because spleen lies here. So gastrosplenic ligament, and then the rest of the part is attached to the 2 layers of greater omentum. So these are our curvatures. And now this is very important for abdomen. You have to remember all kind of relation, because in abdomen we already see that there are so many viscera lies within the same space. So we have to remember, what is what lies anterior or posterior or superior to certain structures, because when you are performing a surgery or anything, so that you can hamper the other one. So that is very important. I think in Netter you can find very good pictures and you can check out that, but this picture is also quite okay. Anyway, so there are 2 surfaces I have already told you. One is the anterior superior surface, another one is the posterior inferior surface. So this relation is about the anterior superior surface. So almost most of the viscera anteriorly at least covered with peritoneum of greater sac. And see the right part, that means this area, though it has been shown here, the right area basically covered here, whole area is covered with basically liver. If you remember from lungs, the left lobe is higher than the right lobe is higher than the left one, because presence of liver. So same here, this whole area is kind of the liver actually places here. So that's why, see the right part, sorry, I have gone too far. Anyway, so the right part basically covered by left lobe and quadrate lobe of liver. So just for now, you remember that it is covered by the liver. and see upper and left part. That means our this area is including fundus and part of body. So this area, it is related to diaphragm. See, there is written. So here is presence of diaphragm, then some parts of what? Left pleura, then base of the left lung, and in the middle, there will be some pericardium and heart, and also 6 to 9 costal cartilages outside the diaphragm. So these are the structures that are all actually present here. And the picture you can see here, it basically showing the posterior inferior surface, but again I'm telling you the anterior superior surface, basically mostly it is covered with peritoneum of greater sac. On the right side there should be liver. Which part? Left lobe and quadrate lobe of liver. Then upper and left part, this area there should be diaphragm. Then there is left lung, base of the left lung actually. Then there is pleura covering the lung, and some parts of pericardium and heart, and outside the diaphragm there should be 6 to 9 costal cartilages. Okay, and I haven't written the surname, the heading. You can see I have written it like stomach bed. So the posterior inferior surface, the most important part is this stomach bed. It is important for your viscera. It is important for your written, because it's a very important question. Actually, it is important for anything. In future you also need this stomach bed. So we have already seen that the anterior surface is covered with peritoneum basically, but the posterior inferior surface, it is covered with peritoneum, but except there is an area which is related to a number of structures, and that area is called the stomach bed. That means the posterior inferior surface, basically the whole area is not covered with peritoneum. There are some areas which doesn't have this peritoneum. That's why it's kind of related with the structures behind that. And what are those structures? See, these 7 or 8, they are written basically accordingly from above to downwards, and it's very, very important. So if we think about the above is the diaphragm. So here is the left crus of diaphragm. Then there is left suprarenal gland. Then there is left kidney. Then there is tortuous splenic artery. Then there is pancreas, anterior surface of the pancreas. Then there is transverse mesocolon, and there is spleen. So these are the structures you will find there, and all the structures are kind of written in from above to downwards direction. So I'm going to say it again. Anterior surface, mostly anterior surface is covered with peritoneum, but our posterior inferior surface not covered with peritoneum fully. There are some areas which has no peritoneum. That's why it has kind of related with the number of structures, and that area is called our stomach bed. So what are those structures? Very, very important. From above to downwards, there is left crus of diaphragm on the top of all. Then serially, left suprarenal gland, there is left kidney, there is tortuous splenic artery, there is anterior surface of pancreas, transverse mesocolon, and spleen. And there should be a question in your mind that, normally we write the name of the artery. We don't add this word tortuous. Okay? But why we are adding this word? If you can see my mouse, this is our tortuous splenic artery. So why it is tortuous? Tortuous means, you see, this is a zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. Normally the arteries you see is kind of straight, but you see it's zigzag. So why this is tortuous? There can be a viva question. So basically what happens, what are we doing? Stomach is full, it is expanding, and then it is, what happens when the food is gone to the next section? It will, what happen? It will narrow down. So expanding and then it going back again is position. So that's why if there's a straight artery, what will happen? It will get torn. So that's why the artery is tortuous. So even if the stomach expand, it can, give space. It can be torn. That's why. Anyway, I am not sure actually how much you are understanding from online class. The minus point of online class is that I don't know the response of the students. So I hope you are understanding. Anyway, so This is all about the general features, and now we are going in another important topics, that is the blood supply of stomach. It's very, very important. First, we are going to learn the artery supply. And see, I have given only a picture. I know the picture is not, it's a bit hazy, but you have your book, so you can check through the book. You know, I think the artery supply stomach is very easy if you learn it from the, drawing or the viscera, or this. The picture says actually all about the artery supply. And I don't, and there are sometimes in your viva, the teacher can ask you to show the artery supply on the viscera. So that's why if you learn from the picture, it is the best way to remember. See, I will go through. The stomach is mainly supplied by actually 5 arteries, and there are some arteries, but I'll tell that about later. So see, this is left gastric artery. So this is the left gastric. Then see, this is the right gastric artery. Then there is the short gastric artery, not splenic. See, left gastroepiploic artery, then right gastroepiploic artery. So stomach mainly supplied by 5 arteries, basically left and right gastric artery, then short gastric artery, left gastroepiploic artery, and right gastroepiploic artery. Sorry, and sometimes there is a posterior gastric artery. So now comes, see, the left gastric and the right gastric, basically they lie on where? On the lesser curvature, and they are anastomosing. See here. So the left gastric artery, now we need to know where it comes from. The left gastric artery is the branch of, see, this is the celiac trunk. This bigger one is the celiac trunk. So left gastric artery is the branch of celiac trunk and supplies what? The upper part of the lesser curvature mainly. And see, this one is the right gastric artery. This is the branch of, you can see the hepatic artery. So this is the branch of hepatic artery, and it supplies basically the lower part and some of the pyloric part of the, stomach. And now comes, this is the short gastric artery. See, this is the tortuous, the splenic artery. So short gastric artery is the branch of this splenic artery, and it's kind of 5 or 6 in numbers, and they are supplying basically the fundus. And the left gastroepiploic artery, see, it is also a branch of this splenic artery, and it supplies basically the greater curvature. And see, this one is the right gastroepiploic. This is the branch of basically gastroduodenal, but it comes to the superior pancreoduodenal anyway. So this supplies the also the greater curvature. So this is the artery supply of stomach. When you are trying to read the textbook, you will see actually this is what they have written in words. This is the picture which is saying it all. So I always tell my student to remember the picture. If you remember this picture, if you practice this picture, and you can identify where they are supplying and what are they are from, or mainly which are from which are their branches. So you can easily write it down in words. So I'm telling you again, the stomach is mainly supplied by total 5 arteries mainly. One is the left gastric artery, one is the right gastric artery, then there is short gastric artery, then there is left gastroepiploic arteries, then there is right gastroepiploic artery. So left gastric artery is the branch of celiac trunk, and it supplies this upper part of the lesser curvature. The right gastric artery is the branch of hepatic artery, which supplies the lower part and some part of the pyloric part. The short gastric artery is the branch of splenic artery, which supplies the fundus. The left gastroepiploic artery supplies is also a branch of splenic artery and supplies the upper part of the greater curvature. And see, the right gastroepiploic artery is the branch of mainly gastroduodenal artery, which is also a branch of hepatic artery anyway, and it supplies the lower part of the greater curvature and also the pyloric part. So this is the main artery supply of stomach, which you can easily learn through the pictures, and if you know the picture, you can easily show it on your viscera. Sometimes it can happen showing the fundus, the teacher can ask you, tell me which artery lies here. If you remember this picture, you can easily say, ma'am, the short gastric artery supplies here. So, it's not that difficult if you remember this picture. I told you anatomy is easier if you learn through the pictures. So this is the artery supply, and I told you there is another artery, that is the posterior gastric artery. Sometimes this artery also supplies basically the posterior part of the stomach. So this is a artery supply, and then this is the venous drainage. If you understand the artery supply, then the venous drainage actually is pretty easier, because the name are almost same. There we learn the left gastric, right gastric artery. Here we learn we replace the artery as vein. So there is left gastric vein, there is right gastric vein. See the heading. This is left gastric vein, this is right gastric vein. Then this is short gastric, left gastroepiploic, then right gastroepiploic. So basically the left gastric and the right gastric, these two drain into portal vein. You can see this one is the portal vein. So this drain into the portal vein. Then this short gastric and left gastroepiploic, they are going to drain into the splenic vein. And the right gastroepiploic, this will drain into the superior mesenteric vein. So you need to remember these three. I know this picture, they have given a lot of things, but if you go through the doctor book, it's very clean and clear, and you can understand easily. The left gastric and the right gastric branch, they will drain into mainly portal vein. The short gastric and the left gastroepiploic, they will drain into the splenic vein. And the right gastroepiploic, it will drain into the superior mesenteric vein. So this is the venous drainage. Very easy if you understand the arterial supply. So now the lymphatic drainage. It is also important for your written, as well as, your teacher can ask you in Viva. But mostly the common two question in written, almost it comes every time, or 1 year after another, that is artery supply and the lymphatic drainage. Even sometimes they give, draw and level the artery supply of the stomach, or draw and level the lymphatic drainage. So anyway, for better understanding, I have taken a picture from online, but you should check from the book, because this picture is not a correct one, and I didn't have the time to draw one on my own, so we have to go through with it. So the picture, what is wrong with the picture? In the picture they are only showing the 3 areas, 1 2 3, but see, I have given a number 4. So basically this pyloric area here should be a number 4. Okay, so just remember it, because this I haven't given here, but there should be, this area is called the number 4. So see the number 1, before lymphatic drainage we have to actually make also a division to divide the areas. So basically the first one, from here we will draw a vertical line, and then there is an area to the left, and see this is number 1 is the area to the left of the vertical plane. So see, these lymphatics from this area drain into left gastric lymph nodes. So they have given a picture here. So kind of all of this area, all the lymphatics are going to drain the left gastric lymph nodes. And see the number 2 lymphatics drain into the, oh sorry, my pointer is anyway. So this is the area 2. See, it's where near the right gastroepiploic and left gastroepiploic structure. Basically, it's mainly on the right gastroepiploic near the right gastroepiploic artery. So the lymphatics drain into right gastroepiploic nodes, and from there it will drain into here the pyloric lymph nodes. So they have written subpyloric lymph nodes, but we are not going to the subpyloric lymph node. We are going to say they are going to drain into the pyloric lymph nodes. And this area, the green color, this is the area number 3. The lymphatics accompany here the short gastric, because you remember we have seen the arteries present here at the short gastric and left gastroepiploic. So they will accompany those 2 arteries, and then they will terminate into the pancreaticosplenic lymph nodes. So in this picture, they have written only the pancreatic nodes, which is not right, because we are going to follow Datta book. So that's why we are going to say that pancreaticosplenic lymph nodes. And the area 4, which I have mentioned, this will be our area 4, that is the pyloric area. Here the lymphatics from this area, or the lymphatics from the pyloric area, drains into 3 areas basically. Some will go upward into the hepatic area by hepatic nodes, some will go downwards to the pyloric lymph nodes, and some will go to directly this left gastric lymph nodes. So this is mainly how we are going to divide the lymphatic areas and how they will go from there. So if I, if I repeat again, then there will be a vertical line drawn from a vertical line from the left. This is our first area. This area will drain to the left gastric lymph node. The second area, that means this area, they are going to go through right gastrocleptoid lymph node, and from there they will go to the pyloric lymph node. And the green, this is our number 3 area. This area they will accompany through the short gastric and left gastroepiploic lymph nodes, and through the arteries, and they will go to the pancreaticosplenic lymph nodes. And lastly, our this pyloric area, or area number 4, they will drain into 3 areas. One, they will go into upward hepatic area, they will go downward into the pyloric areas, and some will go into the left gastric lymph node. So this is the how the lymphatics are going to drain. And finally, see, all these will drain into the cilia group of pre-aortic lymph nodes. So this is basically the lymphatic drainage. And I'm again telling you, I just find these pictures from the online so that I can show it better way, but you should follow, I think, Datta or whatever your teachers suggest. I'm going to tell you again, whatever your teachers suggest, that will be your first priority, not these pictures. So another important thing is our nerve supply. This is basically, by the question. So there is two supply. Basically, stomach is supplied by autonomic nervous system, and there is sympathetic supply and there is parasympathetic supply. So sympathetic supply basically from the thoracic 6 to thoracic 9 segments, and the parasympathetic supply is by the vagus nerve. So what are the function of our sympathetic supply? It basically stimulates the pyloric sphincter. And what does it inhibit? It inhibits gastric musculature. That means it inhibits the movement of the gastric muscles. And obviously the opposite will happen to parasympathetic supply. So this is important. You need to know, just like heart. We have also learned, what is the function of sympathetic supply and what is the function of parasympathetic supply. So you need to know it for the stomach too. Anyway, this is another histological structure. I have no idea you are bored or not, but I think we have to go, and I'm not even sure that I'm going too fast or not. I hope I'm not going too fast. Or if you have any, if you have, if you want to repeat me something, please tell me, I will repeat that, because I am not understanding anything what you are going through anyway. So histological structure, this is very important for abdomen, and the alimentary tract almost consists of all same. See, and I think in your histology class, when it will happen, you are going to learn a lot more about these histological structures on the microscope and the points and everything. But for just a general knowledge, or what we need to know, this purpose, I'm going to go just the basic or basic things of the histological structure. So almost all the alimentary tract consist of the same 4 coats. What is present on here, stomach. So for 4 coats, always we are going to say from outward to inward or inward to outward. So we have to mention this always, because otherwise we are not understanding in which way you are going through. So see, From outward to inwards, there is from outer, there is first coat will be the serous coat, then there is muscular coat, and then there is submucous coat, and there is mucous coat. So there are total four coats. From outwards to inwards, serous coat, muscular coat, submucous coat, and mucous coat. And it's almost present in all over the elementary tract. When we'll go in further structure, you will see that the same coats are present also there. So, and when we're going to see in real life, and when your class is going to start and we're going to see the slides on the microscope, you will get a better knowledge about these things. So anyway, the serous coat is nothing but actually, coming from the peritoneum layer. And see the muscular coat. So the muscular coat, it consists of three muscles, which is only present in the stomach. Otherwise, mostly they consist of two muscles. Sorry, the stomach has three muscles. The outer layer is called the longitudinal, the middle is the circular layer, and the inner is the oblique muscles. So these three muscles are present on the muscular coat, which is a very important point for stomach, because only stomach has three layers of muscle in their muscular coat. Remember, very, very important, because they can ask, your teacher can ask you this question, because this is the only thing that is differentiating the stomach from the other, organs or viscera of the alimentary tract. And then there is the submucous coat. Submucous coat consists of some, blood plexus, nerve plexus, loose alveolar tissue, lymphatics, etc. And mucous coat is also have three structures. There is surface epithelium that is lined by the simple columnar cell, sometimes presence of the goblet cell. Then there is lamina propria, which also contains, blood vessels, plexus, nerve plexus, and things like that. And then there is muscularis mucosa. So basically, stomach, these are the main all structure of stomach. Stomach has four coats. Not only stomach, almost in alimentary tract, all of the structure consists of the same coat. Two or three exception, you will learn it when we'll go there. But see, stomach has four coats, from outward to inward: serous coat, muscular coat, submucous coat, and mucous coat. And serous coat basically derived from the peritoneum. Muscular coat, three muscles present in the muscular coat. There is outer longitudinal muscle, there is middle circular muscle, and there is inner oblique muscle. And then there is submucous coat, then there is mucous coat. Mucous coat again divided into three parts. There is surface epithelium, which is lined by the simple columnar cell. Then there is lamina propria, and there is muscularis mucosa. Now comes, stomach has three coats, but the other structures of alimentary tract doesn't have three coats. So I think the second year students, they already know these things. For the first year students, it will be difficult to understand, but there is a specific function for each of these muscles. That's why they are present. There are three muscles. First, the outer longitudinal muscle. Sorry. So this muscle basically helps any kind of fluid content, go from cardiac opening to the pyloric opening. Then there is middle circular. So the circular muscles actually helps, retain the products within the stomach. That means almost stored, in a way stored. And there is inner oblique muscle. Basically, this muscle helps in mixing of the food products. So that's why these are important. There are three muscle, and the function of these three muscle is these three things. That's why stomach has three muscles in their muscular coat. And if you remember, I have told you about the pyloric sphincter, how it is formed. So they are basically formed by the muscles from this muscular coat. See the deep fibers of the longitudinal muscle and the circular muscle there. So so the sphincter is formed by muscles of this muscular coat. Okay, so I'm going to the next slide. It's just a picture, historical slide of stomach. Basically how it will look on a slide. So when we'll see on the microscope, you will see just see from outer to inward. See the lower portion, there is serosa or serous coat. Then there is muscular coat, three layers of muscle. In the middle, this is the submucous coat, and mucosa or the mucus coat. Okay, so this is a histological slide how it will look. And now come, there is something important in the mucus coat we have to know, or when you will see the viscera, you will basically with the viscera you will see these things on the mucus coat. See, there is a presence of number of temporary folds which is called rugae, which disappear when the stomach is expanded. So on the right side in the picture you can see there are this folding type of things. Basically these are called the rugae. So these are the temporary fold which actually called rugae, and what happened when stomach is expanded, this will disappear. So that's why this is called the temporary folds. There is another thing, that is the gastric canal, which I can show you in this picture. Basically you can see on your viscera, if the viscera is good. This is kind of a mucus gutter along the laser curvature which helps in passing the fluid contents of stomach. So basically this is our laser curvature. Along this there will be a canal like structure. So, or that's why it is called the mucus gutter, through which the fluids contents actually passing from the cardiac portion to the pyloric portion. So it can be seen in the viscera, I'm telling you, but still I want to put it so that you can know these things. And another thing is that on the surface epithelium there are some depression or small pits like structure that are called the gastric pits, which basically receive the ducts from the gastric glands. So these are some of the things on the viscera your teacher can ask you, show that structures, or they can ask you simply what is rugae, or what is gastric canal, or what is gastric pit. So that is kind of important for basically viva. And now another important things are the gastric glands. It is very, very important. I think you have read it, I think, in your HSC level, as far I remember. Anyway, but now you have to read it again. So each part consists of glands. These glands are called the gastric glands, but on the cardiac part, there are some cardiac glands, and the secretion we need to know is very important. Cardiac glands only secrete mucus, nothing else. Then on the fundus and body, there are 3 types of cells present on that gland, and this is very, very important. There is the gymnogenic or chief cell, then there is the oxantic cells, and there is the mucus neck cell. Okay, gymnogenic or chief cells, oxantic cells, and mucus neck cells. And we need to know what are the function of these cells. So gymnogenic or chief cells, they basically synthesize pepsinogen. That means they help in basically protein digestion by synthesizing the pepsinogen. Then these are the oxantic cells. It's basically secrete the hydrochloric acid or HCl and intrinsic factor of Castle. And if you read in your biochemistry, you will know that intrinsic factor of Castle is one of the ingredient of vitamin B12. So it's very important in that sense too. And there is mucus neck cells. See, mucus neck cells also secrete mucus, and the pyloric glands mostly secrete mucus. So these glands are very, very important as a part of the histology structure and as well as in viva. So there are different type of glands present on the different regions of stomach. Cardiac glands mostly secrete mucus. Pyloric gland also secrete mucus, but in fundus and body, the glands kind of has 3 kinds of cells. One is the gymnogenic or chief cells. It synthesizes pepsinogen. There is the oxantic cell, which secretes basically hydrochloric acid and intrinsic factor of Castle. And then there is the mucus neck cell, which also secretes mucus. Okay, so these are the glands. And on the last portion of the book, you will see that there are some ligaments and their attachments. If you see the doctor book, so you don't need to go the whole thing. If you are going through the whole thing, is very good. You can read the whole thing. But the thing we need from what are the ligaments attached there. We already read from here. The laser omentum is basically attached where with the laser curvature. the greater curvature, greater omentum kind of attached here. On the greater curvature, the greater omentum. Gastrosplenic here, this is the spleen, so gastrosplenic, and above there is the gastrophrenic ligament. And what you can read from there is, between which structure these are, connected or attached, and, what are the contents of this structure. I haven't write details about it, but you can easily find it from the book. And lastly, the one of the important thing is the development of stomach. Basically, the stomach is developed from the lower part of the foregut. If one sentence, if you want to answer, that is, this is the lower part from this is developed from the lower part of the foregut. This is the most easiest answer. But when you are going to read embryology, you will see the whole process, how it is developed. So as this is the mainly focuses on the stomach, so we are not going to go there, the development. But just for one thing, the development is, the stomach is mainly developed from the foregut. Basically this slide was presented for my students for college, so I gave them homework. If you want, you can try at your home too, but it will be good because it will, you can practice anyway. So this is actually almost covering all the things of the stomach in a very short way. I know it's very difficult to learn through the online, but this is, I think, enough. But there's some extra things I have mentioned you when I was, taking the class. So I don't know if you have understand it or not. And the development, there is also thing, important thing you can find the lower part. That is how the, I'm going to the next question actually, then it will be easier. So I've given a question, the last question. See, explain anatomically why the left vagus nerve supply the anterior superior surface and the right vagus nerve supply the posterior inferior surface. So I'm not going to go there, but I'm going to tell you, stomach basically developed from the foregut. And when it was first developing, they all came from the dorsal and ventral mesogastrium. So what happened, the laser curvature actually now where on the right border, act as the right border, and the greater one is the left border. So what, when it was developing, started developing, the laser curvature was lies anteriorly. That means this kind of was front border, and the greater curvature was lies on posteriorly, kind of like posterior border. So what happens when from hepatic bud, the liver, started to develop. Liver is a very big structure. So what happened? It goes to the right side. So that's why stomach rotates. And due to that rotation, it changed and went to the right side. So at first, during development, there was two borders, or these two curvatures were in front and behind, and there are two surfaces, basically left surface and right surface. And when the rotation happened, then what happened? This left surface become the anterior superior surface, and the right surface become the posterior inferior surface. So due to the rotation of during the development, now the stomach lies like this way, and that's why the last question basically was from that. You can find this question in your Dotto book. I don't know if you have understand it or not. It's very difficult to go through without the viscera. If I can show you with the viscera, then it will very easier and much more easier for you to understand. But now you have to, I know it will be very confusing for you, especially for the first year students who haven't actually seen the viscera yet. So I hope I have covered almost everything about stomach